So we have an update on the ISIS situation that demonstrates just how screwed up everything is. First of all, there's now evidence that ISIS is using chemical weapons. That's not good. They somehow got their hands on mustard gas. Wonderful. Now, we don't know for sure, but they likely got it from the U.S. And the reason I say that is it's well documented that when we were involved in Iraq and Afghanistan, in Fallujah, for example, we used white phosphorus, which is a chemical weapon. So it'd be unsurprising if we had other chemical weapons and we kept them in the area. Now, you might say, hey, Kyle, why would we leave behind crazy weapons in Iraq and Afghanistan? To which I respond, right, why would we? But we did. In fact, a lot of the weapons ISIS has are from us. People don't know that. That's not reported nearly enough. When they went from Syria into Iraq, we left behind all this anti-aircraft missiles, all this machine guns and weaponry, and they were just, okay, thank you, we will take that now. Really appreciate that. And then a lot of their other weapons, we approved to go from our ally, Saudi Arabia, to the FSA, the rebels in Syria, and ISIS ended up getting them. Now, some people say, well, it's just because they beat the FSA in some battles and they took the weapons. And there's also a possibility some people in the FSA defected, okay, and they went to ISIS and just brought the weapons. So we are arming our enemies. And here we have another example where they may have gotten chemical weapons from us. Wonderful. So that's a scary thing. That's a bad thing. There are border towns right now in between Syria and Turkey, where Kurdish territory, they're slowly falling. U.S. airstrikes are trying to beat them back, and the Kurds are putting up a great fight, but it does appear as if there's some serious problems, and some places are on the verge of falling. Now, here's an update that's even crazier than the chemical weapons update, believe it or not. We learned that Turkey, another one of our closest allies, is refusing to fight ISIS unless the U.S. agrees to topple Assad in Syria. So this is fascinating, okay, because Turkey, they're largely Sunni, okay, Sunni Muslims. Assad, of course, is an Alawite and a Shiite leader, and the idea is that the Sunnis are fighting the Shiites in Syria, and they're trying to topple the Shiite government and set up some sort of a Sunni government. Of course, some of those Sunni extremists fighting Assad are somewhat more moderate, but you know who else is fighting Assad and they're Sunni extremists? ISIS! ISIS! So look, it's not like Turkey, because Turkey, as far as these countries go, it's much more moderate than Saudi Arabia or other countries in the region. So they're not expressly on the side of ISIS, but they do agree with ISIS's mission to topple Assad. Okay, and Assad is fighting ISIS in the region right now, too. So in a weird way, the U.S. is both allied with Assad, but also we're enemies with Assad, because we were just talking about getting him out of power a year and a half ago when we switched sides in the fucking civil war. Okay, so Turkey is refusing to go and fight ISIS, even though they're on their fucking border. Okay. Because, the U.S., it will help you if the U.S. goes to topple Assad. But if you topple Assad, you might leave a power vacuum that could be filled by ISIS. So, of course, the U.S. is scared to do that now, because the Assad regime could be replaced by something just as bad, if not much, much, much worse. But, you ready for this? There are reports now that Turkey is bombing the PKK, or the Kurdish Workers' Party, from the air as the PKK is fighting ISIS. Stop and think about that. Stop and think about that. Our ally, Turkey, is bombing the people who are currently fighting ISIS. So that would mean that they're de facto on the side of ISIS right now. Okay. This is insanity. This is insanity. Now you say, well, why are they doing that? Well, in Turkey, they have a long history of issues with the Kurds, okay? They categorize the PKK, the Kurdish Workers' Party, as terrorists, okay? Because there's Kurdish territory in Turkey where they're separatists, and they want to essentially, for the longest time, they wanted to have their own area, call it Kurdistan. Of course, there's Kurdish areas in Iraq and Syria, too. It kind of goes through that whole area. They wanted their Kurdistan for a long time, and, of course, there was fighting between Turks and and Kurds. So that fighting still continues. There's been a peace deal for, I think, about 2 years, but now it's been violated. It's been breached, and Turkey is now bombing the Kurds as the Kurds are fighting ISIS. This is insane, man. This is insane. Now, we did a video about this a while ago in terms of how many places in the Middle East at the same time are our ally and our enemy. And the list is endless. Basically, every single country in the Middle East is both our ally and our enemy. So what do I mean? Okay, Iran. Oh, the U.S. and Iran, they've been beefing since 1953. They've been beefing ever since the Shah, later on when the Shah got overthrown, who's our dictator, who we put in there, and then there was, a rise of a regime that was anti-U.S. Well, we're their ally and their enemy right now. Why? Because Iran, they're Shiite, and they're fighting the Sunni extremists, ISIS, who they're mortal enemies, so we're allies with them in the sense that we know that they're not nearly as bad as ISIS. So we're allies with Iran for that purpose, but we're against them because they also are against Israel, and Israel is our closest ally. So we love them and we hate them at the same time. Okay, let's go a little deeper here. Turkey. Well, Turkey, again, one of our closest allies. But also, we're against them right now because they're bombing the Kurds, and the Kurds are fighting ISIS. So they're de facto on the side of ISIS. Okay, so they're our buddy and our enemy. And the list goes on and on. I mean, the Kurds. I mean, the PKK, again. The PKK, they're our enemy because Turkey's our ally, and Turkey doesn't like the PKK. So they're our enemy in that respect, but they're on our side also because they're currently fighting ISIS. I mean, when you throw ISIS into the mix, it's amazing how all of U.S. foreign policy immediately becomes self-parody. It's a caricature because it exposes, when you really go place by place and you look at who's our friend, who's our enemy, you go, oh, we at some point or another have been friends and enemies with everybody in the conversation, so why the fuck are we doing what we're doing? See, that's the thing. It's not like our foreign policy or our interventionist strategies. It's not based on reason. It's not based on logic. It's based on access to natural resources. Of course, that's why Saudi Arabia is our ally, but of course they're also our enemy because they're Sunni extremists. And, well, what is it? 15 of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 came from Saudi Arabia. Yeah, great ally over there. But of course, we would never invade Saudi Arabia because they allow us to take a metric fuck ton of oil. So when you look at it, you go, oh, I get it. U.S. foreign policy sucks donkey dicks. All we care about is access to natural resources, having geopolitical strength by having control of vital regions on the map in the Middle East, the military-industrial complex, and arming people with our weapons just so we make more money and the defense contractors make more money, even if those weapons are inevitably used against us at some point. See, the Mujahideen, they became the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. We armed them when they were fighting the Soviet Union. I mean, the list goes on and on of, what we're doing right now with arming the FSA. Those weapons will come back and kick us in the ass again. What, you think that, they're secular, they're going to set up a Swedish system in Syria if they topple Assad? Fuck no, it'll be a repressive, Sharia-like state. And so this is the point, man. Because we're so interventionist, because after World War II, we became the world's last standing empire, and because we make decisions not based on rationality, but based on other motivations, this is the situation we find us in. So I have to say, the people who make the most sense in this conversation, by far, in my opinion, have to be the libertarians, because they say, let's just mind our business, okay? And if somebody fucks with us and they want to attack us, then we'll fight back. But only defensive wars from now on, and we should basically get rid of most of our shitty bases. Agreed. To me, at this point, that's the only common sense position.